Bayern Munich have been perhaps the most dominant team in the world this season. The likes of PSG, Barcelona and Arsenal have faltered here and there, but Bayern have been largely consistent across competitions. As such, they are arguably the clear favourites to win the UEFA Champions League this season, which also means that they are favourites to get past Real Madrid in the quarter-final. But it won't be an easy one, surely. In fact, we think that Real Madrid fans should be a lot more hopeful than they probably are right now, because they might just win that game and make it to the semi-final. Why do we say so? You will find out in this video today. These are 8 reasons why Real Madrid must not fear Bayern Munich this season. First of all, it's the Champions League. It's literally Real Madrid's competition. They are the most successful team in the competition's history, and they will always be a scary team to go up against in Europe, no matter what form they're in or what opponent they're up against. They might be horrible in the league and Copa del Rey, but they are always a different beast in the Champions League. I mean, there are different seasons when absolutely no one gave Real Madrid a chance because of how bad or disjointed they looked, but they went ahead to win the Champions League. It is literally what they do. Even this season, not many would have predicted that they would beat Man City home and away with an aggregate scoreline of 5-1, but they did it. They literally beat City 3-0 in the first leg of the round of 16, tie off the back of 2 very shaky performances in the league against Getafe and Celta Vigo. The mentality and approach to games in the Champions League is always so different for Real Madrid, so even if Bayern Munich might seem so tough and unstoppable, Madrid just cannot fear them. Another reason Real Madrid cannot be afraid of Bayern Munich is because of their head-to-head record in the competition. These two teams have met 28 times in the Champions League, and Real Madrid have won 13 times, while Bayern Munich have won 11 times. On top of that, Real Madrid have knocked Bayern Munich out of the Champions League in each of their last 4 meetings. Even in the 2013-14 season, when Bayern were led by Pep Guardiola and were playing the most dominant football in the world, Real Madrid still knocked them out, beating them 5-0 over the 2 semi-final legs. If they could humble the master in 2014, why then should they be scared of the student in 2026? In the 21st century, Bayern Munich have knocked Real Madrid out of the Champions League only 3 times, while Madrid have knocked Bayern out 7 times in the same period. When you have this kind of record against an opponent, you just cannot be scared going into a match against them regardless of form. But it's not just about history here, there are more current reasons why Real Madrid must not fear Bayern Munich in the quarter-finals this year, and we'll talk about them in a second. But if you aren't yet subscribed to the channel, go do that right away so you never miss out on our amazing content.
Hey Goal 90 family, what's good? The World Cup season is here and you already know the vibes on this channel. So for everyone who's been rocking with us, Goal 90 Shop has World Cup jerseys for the whole squad. Men, women and kids. Whatever country you're repping, we've got ya. Home kits, away kits, clean classics and the loud ones. Instant match day energy. And it's love from us. Free shipping worldwide. Grab yours now and let's run this tournament together.
Done? Okay, back to the video. Another reason Real Madrid just cannot be scared of Bayern Munich is because they have Vini Jr. He has been a standout player for the club in the past 5 years, and he's one player who will always find solutions even in the most unpleasant conditions. Yes, Kylian Mbappe might win the Golden Boot and all that, but when it comes to big games, especially in the Champions League, Vini is always the guy causing the most trouble. Even if Real Madrid get outplayed, with Vini, they just can never be out. He's a guy that never knows when he's beaten. He'll continue to knock and knock until something happens. We saw him do this back in 2024. Real Madrid were 2 minutes away from getting knocked out of the competition, but Vini just never gave up. He kept coming at the Bayern Munich defense until he forced an error from Manuel Neuer and gave Real Madrid a route back into the game. The Brazilian always turns into a different monster in the Champions League, so as long as Real Madrid have him, they just can never be completely out. Another thing Real Madrid have on their side is the lack of experience on Bayern Munich's side. Yes, they have a top team with a lot of good players, but most of their best players don't have a track record of being consistently outstanding at this stage of the competition. Michael Olise, Luis Diaz, Lennart Kart, Kim Min-jae, Jonathan Tah, and even Harry Kane are all top players, but they don't have a lot of experience playing in tough knockout games, so if things get super tight, things like this could make the difference. Real Madrid, on the other hand, is littered with this exact brand of players. Vini, Mbappe, Rudiger, Valverde, Carvajal, Trent, Tchouaméni and Camavinga have all done this multiple times. Each of these guys has either featured in multiple Champions League finals or multiple World Cup finals. They know exactly what it takes to grind out victories, and experience like this can be very important in tight games. What's more, Bayern Munich's style plays perfectly into Real Madrid's hand. Vincent Kompany's men love to hold the ball, dominate possession, and dictate play. Real Madrid do really well against teams like this, as they'd prefer to just sit back and hit you on the counter. This was exactly how they managed to cruise past Manchester City in the round of 16, and it could also be what will help them get past Bayern Munich in the quarter-finals. Last year they were knocked out by Arsenal, who didn't really bother about holding the ball but focused on keeping a strong defence and relied on set pieces, throw-ins and dangerous crosses into the box to nullify their opponents. Bayern Munich won't do that, and that could work in Real Madrid's favour. Another reason Real just cannot be scared is because of Bayern Munich's big game record. It just hasn't been the greatest this season. Bayern Munich might have strolled past a lot of teams, but in big games they haven't looked that convincing. They lost to Arsenal, only managed to scrape past PSG, drew against Leverkusen and needed a late goal to beat Borussia Dortmund. If you include the Club World Cup, it looks even more suspicious, as they lost to the only two European oppositions they faced in that competition, Benfica and PSG. What this tells us is that, at the very least, that game will be very evenly balanced, and in an evenly balanced Champions League game, advantage will always be with the 15-time winners. And we also have to speak specially about Federico Valverde. In the form the Uruguayan is in, he is a man who can make a massive difference in a game like that. Of course, we're all already familiar with his versatility and his insane work rate, but in recent weeks he has added loads of goals to his game. Valverde has been directly involved in 17 goals in 21 appearances for Real Madrid and Uruguay in 2026. For a midfielder who has sometimes played as a right-back, that is super impressive. I mean, he almost single-handedly knocked out Manchester City with his hat-trick in the last round, so in this form he's in, he could be the difference maker for Real Madrid in the game against Bayern. When you add him to the firepower Real Madrid already have in the attack, you start to see the Spaniards as something of favourites, especially because Bayern Munich can't boast of a player like this in their midfield. Finally, the difference in the quality of the leagues could make the difference over those two legs. Real Madrid regularly get tested against tougher opponents like Barcelona and Atletico Madrid, both of whom are also in the quarter-finals of the Champions League. Bayern Munich, on the other hand, don't face opponents quite as tough in Germany, which is evidenced in the fact that they are the only German team in the quarter-finals of the Champions League this season. What this means is that Real Madrid will enter that game better prepared to take on a top opponent compared to Bayern Munich. In fact, Real Madrid just played and beat Atletico Madrid before the international break. A win in that game, in addition to the fact that they had also knocked out Man City, certainly does wonders for their confidence going into the quarter-final. Bayern Munich, on the other hand, only had to play Atalanta in the round of 16 and Union Berlin in the Bundesliga before the international break. You just have to say that Madrid have had better preparation, and that could swing the game in their favour. Anyway, it is now time to hear from you guys. Are there more reasons why Real Madrid must not fear Bayern Munich this year? How do you think that game will end? Who can predict the scoreline of that game? Get in the comments and talk to us. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, turn on the bell notification so you never miss out on new content. Catch you in the next one. Bye.